For my non-macro trading friends, I'm going to break down the Fed meeting today and why it matters so much for markets. Now, the chairman of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, is expected to cut interest rates and answer in a press conference some questions about the Fed's next moves. Now, why do interest rate cuts matter so much to the market? Well, cutting interest rates makes things like credit card loans and auto loans at the short end of borrowing rates, think things that you would borrow money for a few years, it makes those borrowing rates lower. So they're more affordable and it allows people to go out and spend money and borrow at more affordable rates. Now, as you can imagine, the stock market cares about this because if borrowing is more accessible, it just straight up means money is going to flood into the system as people go out and buy cars, etc. So people are always wanting, in terms of economic stimulus, interest rates to go lower. And politicians, left or right, always want rate cuts because it makes the economy look good. And with a jobs market that has been pretty clearly slowing in recent years, we are now very much expecting the Fed to cut interest rates today, but also the bigger question is whether or not they're going to signal further rate cuts to reduce borrowing costs even further in coming months. Now, lowering borrowing rates usually weakens the dollar and it usually strengthens things like gold, silver, and the stock market. Gold and silver make sense because if they're flooding more money into the system through rate cuts, essentially that's going to make the value of precious metals go up. Where things can get confusing is that it's not about the rate cut today. That's already expected. It's about projections for the future. Is the Fed going to keep cutting interest rates, or is this sort of a one and done? And for the stock market, this just makes sense too. If there's lower borrowing costs and people are out there spending, that's going to be good for corporate earnings. So the big question is all about that press conference where we're going to try and see if Jerome Powell is signaling that the Fed is likely to cut interest rates further or they're kind of one and done. If you're interested in learning more about macro, which I think every trader, whether you use it or not, should learn more about, consider following my page, and thanks for listening.